Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. David Boyle is the president and CEO of TraXtion, a huge name in fixed operations and a great friend of the retail community. Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hey, Ted, good to see you. How have you been?
Good to see you. I'm fine. And,
Good.
here we are already coming to the end of January and a lot happening, my friend, in our industry. And by the way, I want to thank you for all that you do. Your
Thank you.
products and your focus, Dave, on tires and alignments is second to none. And congratulations to you on the success you and the team are having.
Thank you. Well, that is a perfect segue actually into this presentation. You know, it's we're into a new year, we're into 2023, and I'm feeling a little spicy. I got to be honest with you. I took a few days over the break and took some downtime and got myself personally sort of recentered and refocused on this. And I gotta tell you, I come out of the new year there a month ago, and I'm fired up. I'm fired up to try to get more people to listen to the message that I have, and a lot of the people that participate in your roundtable have on service departments. And that's really, what I want to talk to everybody about today is that, we've known each other, 5-6 years now, something like that, since the beginning of the roundtable.
Yeah.
And, I started this company about 10 years ago with my partner, and, our mission was to help dealers sell more tires. And I got to tell you, Ted, we probably could have picked just about anything would have been easier than this. I mean, this has been the toughest thing I've ever done in my career. It's really got nothing to do with, I don't believe it has anything to do, with our product and what we're trying to do. It has to do with what we're trying to get dealers to think about. Their service departments have been sort of the back of the house for years, as we all know, and tires have been at the bottom rung of that forever. And we're trying to, obviously, me and my sales team and everyone here at TraXtion is trying to get more and more people to talk about tires. And I was trying to figure out over the holiday break at the end of last year, I was trying to figure out, why is this so hard? Why am I struggling so much getting people to see what I think is something they should see and what I see? And I was spending some time on LinkedIn, and I'm going to go back and forth to some things that I did on LinkedIn. I did a couple of polls. I figured how to do that, which I was impressed over the break, and just was trying to get some conversations started. And one of the things that I believe I've learned, Ted, is that we really have a disparity in terms of the front and the back of the house still in our industry. When it comes to service and specifically the stuff that we do here at TraXtion Tires, we really have one guy that cares and one guy that doesn't. The service manager cares in most cases, and I know I'm generalizing here, so please don't shoot millions of emails at me, folks, because I'm sure there's I know personally of several GMs that care. My good friend Brad Mugg and some of those folks that are sort of more enlightened, I think, about where the business is headed, certainly care about their service departments and care about tires. But I think it's a fairly general and accurate statement that most service managers get it, obviously, because it's their business, and most dealers and GMs still don't really want to focus on it. And I'm trying to figure out why, because that's the part I really struggle with every day is why don't they see what I think the rest of the industry sees, and certainly what their service manager sees, and what we see and what we promote. And if they really saw what they should see in all of this, tires and vehicle sales are connected. And this is, you've heard me say this on many of these presentations, and I think the challenge that most dealers and GMs have had, Ted, is they haven't connected those dots yet. They're hearing guys like me say it, and they think, well, this is just a sales pitch, right? I'm trying to sell them something, and that's true. I am, but the data is indisputable. I mean, there is a direct link between selling more tires and specifically what the driver or service retention does, and selling more vehicles. And again, this is a slide that many have probably seen me use before in other presentations. This is this is hard. These are hard facts. This is data that can't be disputed. Like I said, dealers have a 10% market share, less than 10% market share of the tire replacement market. And it's been fairly stagnant for the better part of a decade. And it doesn't appear to be going anywhere fast, which means that 90% of the people that buy tires are buying it from someplace other than the dealer, obviously. And what NADA, and again, this is not my data, right? This data comes from the Tire Industry Association, and NADA has data and statistics that show that once they defect for whatever reason, and we know 90% of them are defecting for tires, but once they defect, about a third of them come back. So 2/3 of your customers, if you look at it that way, when they go for tires, are not coming back. The other slide that I've used in many of these presentations was this Cox Automotive study that was done, I think, a couple of years ago now. And I was so glad to see somebody actually spend some time and money on this, because this is where I think if most GMs and dealers really understood this the way they should, this is all they would need to know. And that's the fact that when they do defect, it has, from your service department, it has a direct link on whether or not you're likely going to sell them that next vehicle. And the Cox study made that sort of anecdotal thought that we always knew was true. It put some hard evidence around it that said that, if they continue to service with you, and specifically, as this slide shows, that if they've had at least one service visit in the 12 months prior to making the decision, they're 74% likely to buy a car from you. Wow. Conversely, if they haven't had a visit, in that 12-month period, then they're not. Whoops, my slide has moved on me here. Then they're not likely to buy another vehicle from you, and they're going to start shopping around. Then, of course, we know what happens there. Everything. We spend tons of money trying to get them back, and we spend marketing dollars trying to re-engage the consumer and all that kind of stuff, when all we would need to do is sell them, tires and some of the service work that they need post warranty, and keep them coming back to the service department, and we would increase, our likelihood of selling them a vehicle threefold. I recently, over the break, found another study that supports this as well. This one was in Forbes magazine, which is equally as powerful, and it shows that the study that they did, the consumers that they interviewed, said that 72% of consumers are using third-party mechanics for some or all of their vehicle service needs. Now, that obviously takes into consideration, all mileage vehicles. But when you consider the penetration that we know dealers have during the warranty period, which is almost 100%, then that really says that almost everything after the warranty, with very, very small amounts, is going elsewhere. And I think the problem is, I think the dealers, they see the work that they get, and they see the traffic. And I think most GMs and most dealers that get out and they walk on their service drive, right, and they see cars and they get a good feeling about that. And their service manager says, yeah, we're going to be 3% better than we were last year. And that looks like growth, and everybody seems happy with that. But what could it be? What could that really be? The Forbes study shows that the vast majority of people, like I said, are not servicing with the dealer post warranty. And it also supported the Cox study that says that if they continue to service with you and are happy with their service experience, then they're 85% likely or it's going to have an 85% likelihood to have an impact on their ability to repurchase, or their likelihood, I should say, to repurchase from you again. So, here's another study that's out there that, from a credible source, that is linking, service and selling cars in a way that we've always known that we believe that this is true anecdotally, but it's sort of linking these two things together now with some hard facts. And if you really connect all the dots, as I've done here now, it does, like I said in that first slide, connect those two dots, which is sell tires, which is the vast majority of where our defection is. Sell the tire, keep them in the service department, sell them another car. It is really, that simple from that perspective. And, the last piece that I wanted to share on this, and this is data from me, okay? This is data that I found. So, those others are sort of independent studies, but this is data from me. The service business annually is a $500 billion a year business, and the dealers have about 25% of it, a little less than 25% of it. So, if you're worried about some of the things that are on the horizon, and I'm going to talk about those in a few minutes, but if you're worried about some of the things that are on the horizon in our industry, and you're looking for, where's the biggest opportunity that I can find to sort of grow my overall business, why would you look anywhere else other than here? It's a massive opportunity which you've got tons of runway that left for the dealers to tap into. And it really is staggering when you think about how little of the service and repair business that dealers actually have when you compare that to the fact that dealers sell 80+% of the new and used vehicles out there. 100% of the new vehicles, obviously. But when you combine them, dealers sell about 80% of the vehicles on there, but yet they're only getting 25% of the service work. And if I was a dealer and I was thinking about the future of this business and some of the things that are likely going to impact my business, I would be looking for big swings like this, where I could say, look, how can I tap into this opportunity? Because this really is where I think, the golden nugget lies, for dealers. Let's talk about some of those things that are potential headwind for the dealers. I mentioned that I was sort of, messing around on, LinkedIn during the Christmas break, a month and a half back there. And I was catching up with some people that I hadn't talked to in a while. One of the guys I follow is Big Jim here, the Alpha Dog. And I was looking at a post that he put, and I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I shared it with as many people as I could. And he put a poll out there, but he basically posed the question that said, build to order process, how's that working for you? And this is something that dealers, I think, need to be really worried about. We survived the chip shortage. We think we've survived the chip shortage. We've survived the vehicle shortage. Everybody you listen to says that there's either a recession, or somebody used the buzz phrase, a slow session coming, where things are going to slow really down this year. You've got EVs. I don't know why my slides keep advancing there. I apologize. We've got EVs. We've got the labor shortage, all of the things. I think one of the things that dealers need to be most concerned about, Ted, is this factory direct agency model that we know all of the OEs are looking at. And, there are some people out there with the conspiracy theories that believe that the whole chip shortage thing and the vehicle shortage thing is a test run. I'm not sure I believe that, but it certainly showed that there's an appetite for the consumer to order a vehicle and have it delivered. Now, how big of a leap is that from ordering a vehicle on the OEM website and then your dealer is just your delivery vehicle, your mechanism? That's where you go to pick up your car and they show you how to use everything. And that is the agency model that I believe everybody, is worried about right now and is coming. And, what does that mean for dealers in terms of their ability to generate revenue from, that side of the business. And I was crunching some numbers after I read Jim's post, and I was crunching some numbers. And one of the things that I came to realize, going back up to this slide here in terms of the opportunity, if dealers just grew their service business, I'm talking at a gross level now, at a gross profit level, if they just grew their service business by 20 or 30%, they could almost just break even on every vehicle they sold, not make a penny on any car they sold, and they would be probably in the same place. We all know that service, contributes, a lot of the gross anyway. And if you just grew that side of the business, if we only have 25% of it today, the opportunity's there. If we grew that side of the business, well, then, we wouldn't need to worry as much about, am I going to be able to make any money selling cars in the future? So, these are the types of things that I saw people talking about on LinkedIn. And the thing that was most concerning to me, Ted, was the fact that in all of these conversations, and Jim had a long conversation going, and there was a bunch of GMs on there talking about, digital retailing. We got to do this and we got to do that. We got to do this. Nobody was talking about service. Nobody was talking about service. And I thought, something, in my almost 30 years now in this business, nothing has really changed. When we hunker down, right? We worry about selling cars when clearly the bigger opportunity for business growth and business stability is on the service side. And I think people see that, but yet when they get in the trenches, they go to what they know, which is selling cars. And I put a post out there to Jim's his LinkedIn post. I replied to it and I basically asked the question. I said, why is no one talking about service? And there was a GM that I responded, and I won't name him, but he basically said that selling cars is sexy and service is not. And maybe that's true. I don't know. But what is even more sexy in my mind is making money, lots of it. Mm-hmm. And you can't dispute the fact that there's more money to be made right now, and there certainly will be more money to make for these guys in the future in service than there will be at selling cars.
Yes.
And they just need to wrap their heads around this. And I think that's the thing that has me most worried, is that people just aren't talking about this. After I saw Jim's post, I thought, well, I'm going to put my own out there. And I asked a series of questions on why dealers aren't selling more tires. And it really is the dealers. And the question I posed on LinkedIn was, what does the average dealer spend on advertising and marketing per vehicle sold? And I literally got hundreds of responses, and the numbers were all pretty much the same. Then I posed a second question, which was, how much of that budget, how much of your marketing budget do you allocate for service retention spend? And it was crickets. And I expected that. And I was trying to make a point, obviously, because I don't think anybody really understands what service retention spend is. And I bet you most dealers, if you really push them in the corner, they would say, well, we're not spending anything on it. And again, without going back up to the top slides, if you believe in those dots that I connected, wouldn't you be spending as much money as you could on service retention and on service retention spend? And I think this is the problem, right? This is where the disconnect comes, is that anecdotally they believe it, but they're not really taking any action. So what does that action look like? And that's really where I want to focus the last couple of slides here. We need a new process. Dealers need a new process. The process that's been around for the last 50 years when it comes to selling tires doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I think the evidence is there in terms of the dealer's penetration. It's been 10% forever, and it's not getting any better. And what I mean by that specifically, and I'm going to get some people that are in the multi-point inspection business mad at me probably by saying this, but the multi-point inspection is just a lousy process for selling tires. And on the last roundtable, I offered everyone a white paper. I'll make that offer again. If anybody wants to read my white paper on that, I'm happy to share that with people. And it sort of digs into why the multi-point inspection is just not geared for selling tires. It's geared for selling lots of other stuff, but it will never be properly geared to sell tires. And the evidence is very, very clear on this. So you need a new process. And some of the pieces that start with this process is we need to change the consumer interaction. We need to be engaging the consumer differently than we are. And, these are some obviously some shameless plugs for our product, but it goes beyond just our product. It is a mindset. It is, we've got to look at doing things differently than we've done them traditionally in this space, if we believe in the power and the impact that they can have on our business. We need to be in the digital side of this business. We got to get out of the dark ages with papers and pencils and stuff like that. And we've got to use technology and tools in order to engage the consumer differently than we do today. We've got to support our people. Tools, the service advisors have virtually no tools when it comes to sell tires. And if you don't believe me, call a local dealer and try to get a quote. I do it once, twice a month, and it is impossible. They have let me call the parts department. Well, I don't know if we have that in stock. Well, let me see what the part price is on that. And when you compare yourself to your competitors out there, that's not how it works. You can go to a competitor's website, any of the big tire providers out there, tire retailers out there, you can go to their website, get a quote in minutes, and make an appointment and be in and out in 30 minutes and get your tires replaced. And we wonder why dealers don't have a better penetration than 10%. So, this is the types of things that dealers, need to do differently, in my opinion. We need to manage the process. We need to follow up with customers after they buy. We need to do all of those things in order to have a positive impact. And I kind of want to close with this, Ted. I on the last roundtable presentation, I made an offer of the white paper. I'm going to make another offer today to any dealer and GM that might be participating in the roundtable this go around. This is dealers and GMs only. If you want to talk about not just tires, but that side of your business, the service side of your business, and if you believe that I know anything in terms of in the business, spending close to 30 years in it, I'm going to offer an hour of my time free to anybody that wants it. And I will give you whatever knowledge that I've amassed over the last 30 years and where I think things are headed in service and what I believe the dealers need to be focusing on in order to not only grow their service departments, but if you believe in some of the other things that are coming down the pipe, maybe save their businesses. And I can't promise that you'll take my advice. I can't promise that it's necessarily going to work if you don't make some changes. But I can promise this: it won't be a sales pitch. You're going to get an hour of my time, and it won't be to sell my products. I believe that dealers need to wrap their arms around. Dealers and GMs need to wrap their arms around their service departments differently than they ever have. And I'm hoping that I can help a few see this side of the business as the sexy part of the business, quite frankly, because this is the sexy side of the business, in my opinion, because it's the side of the business that's going to make more money and probably keep you afloat, particularly if the OEMs have their way. And at some point down the road, all you are is a storefront and an agency to deliver vehicles. You're going to need not going to need a 3% annual growth from your service department. You're going to need a 30% growth from your service department. And you can do that. That's not a pipe dream. We have the ability to claw back a lot of this business that is now going to the aftermarket, and it's not that hard. We just need to do a few things differently.
I love it. Everybody, David Boyle is the recognized expert. David, you've become that, okay, on tires and alignments and all things related to that. I don't know if you saw recently our good friend Brian Benstock. Brian Benstock spoke here on the roundtable, and he asked the question, are you in the tire business? And there was a picture of his service manager with all these tires around him. And Brian said that it was before Thanksgiving. He went to the local Pathmark and saw they were selling turkeys at 70 cents a pound.
Yep.
And he offered to buy 100 of those turkeys. He went to the manager, and the manager said, no, well, I'll sell you one turkey, not 100. He goes, we lose money at that 70. And Brian said, why do you do that? He said, well, we know the average grocery cart is $85. So dealers need to think of it the same way. All right. We've got to stock the turkey, the tires, and we've got to be able to market them and sell them so we could sell the grocery cart, the alignments, the brakes, and all the good things that go with it. And I just love the analogy. And really
I actually think I used that same analogy on one of the roundtables a couple of years ago. In terms of, grocery stores know that side of the marketing operation better than most. That's their loss leader. There's a reason that the milk and the cheese and the eggs and the butter is at the back of the store. It's not because the coolers are more convenient back there. They put it back there because that's the stuff that most people need. That's the staples. And that's the stuff everybody they have to walk by all of the higher margin stuff in order to pick up the staples, and inevitably human nature is you grab a few of those high margin things on the way out. And dealers have those high margin things like alignments. I mean, you've heard me preach this numerous times. I mean, the tire is the key to the alignment sale, and the alignment is the key to the tire sale. They go hand in glove from that perspective. But the thing that is becoming more and more, I'm going to say obvious because it's always been obvious, but it's more and more it has me more and more fired up, is this connection between what I've been trying to get people to listen to and selling vehicles. And I love to see the data that's coming out. This new Forbes article was a fantastic read. It talks about, goes into some of the details around why and many of the things that I've been talking about in terms of price and convenience and all the other things. And I think too many dealers and even some service managers look at that and say, well, it's too big of a hill to climb. It really isn't. You don't need to make that many wholesale changes in order to really shift this business around. And as I said, I'm happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk about it. I'll share whatever knowledge I can to try to help dealers, see their service departments from a different perspective.
Everybody, David Boyle's company is TraXtion.com. You see his email scrolling at the bottom of the screen. He's on LinkedIn. He's on social media. He's everywhere. And Dave, congratulations to you. And thank you for helping our dealers and our retailers open their eyes to the big opportunity that's ahead. And you know what? EVs or ICE vehicles, the one thing we have in common is they all ride on tires, and we need the tires. And that's the key. David Boyle, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Ted. And if anybody wants to chat with me about tires, my email is going around the bottom there. It's dboyle@traction.com. It's TraXtion with an X. Just shoot me an email and we'll set up a time to talk.
Great. Everybody, David Boyle from TraXtion here today at the Fixed Ops.
Thanks, Ted.